My name is Enrique Villalobos. I'm associate engineer for the City of Claremont. I'm also the project manager for the Towne Avenue Complete Streets improvement project. Um, the presentation was really to give you an update on the current construction that you see out there, but I'll give a little background on the history of the project. Back in 2019, we decided that we were going to look for a project to implement the new complete streets policy, which includes handicap, pedestrian, bicyclist improvements, traffic signal improvements, incorporate street components, which is stormwater improvement, new landscaping, and then also the complete resurfacing of the project corridor, which is from Foothills to 10 Freeway. So back in 2019, we decided Towne Avenue would be a good idea because it's coming from the 210 freeway, it's an entry point to the city, and we kind of wanted to do something similar to what you've seen on Foothills Boulevard. We hired HR Green as our consultant, and we did 3 years of design on the project. There was a lot of speed bumps with different agencies such as Caltrans, LA County, and then COVID happened, so that slowed us down a little bit. But we did start construction in August of 2023. So what you're going to see out there is going to be bicycle improvements, which is some class 4 bike lanes were feasible. We try to include them as much as possible without impacting any of the residents fronting Towne Avenue. So we didn't put any of those class 4s, raised medians for the bike lanes in front of any houses, so didn't reduce any parking. You'll see a lot of the green bike lanes like you see on Foothill Boulevard. All the handicaps are going to be done. All sidewalking, damaged sidewalking, non-ADA compliant sidewalks. A lot of the landscape improvements, we removed a lot of trees, planted new trees for the city's tree policy. Improvements to the median, which also incorporates stormwater, wetlands, so that everything is captured, or as much as possibly is captured in the median. So like I said, construction began August 25th, 2023. The following tasks have been completed so far. We've reconstructed 19 ADA handicap ramps in the footprint. The next point is the total amount for the project. We removed and replaced 19,000 square feet of concrete sidewalks. We replaced 900 square feet of driver approaches. We still have one driver approach to be removed and replaced, and that's the one at the east side of the fire top intersection, because that particular driver approach has traffic signal loops, so those signals you have to go back and it'll also affect the traffic signal. Construction of 3,500 linear feet of PCC curb for the new medians and the class 4 bike lane. Oh, sorry, and also to go back to the removal of section driver approach, that really did all the driver approach to make sure that they meet ADA standards and have the sidewalk wrapped around. According to the concrete. The reconstruction of 2,500 square feet of cross gutter, and then 50% of the landscape improvements have been completed. You still may notice now that there are some trees being removed after the latest tree committee and tree policy meeting. They discovered that it might be a good idea to remove some more trees. So luckily, right now we're currently at a standstill with the project in terms of most of the construction because we are seeing delays from permitting from Edison. We need connected to irrigation systems and traffic signals, and then also Caltrans is kind of giving us a little hesitation for the restriping of the area near the off-ramp. So we're working with them to try to get those permits approved. And then LA County, we have one catch basin that still needs an minor improvements in LA County. Getting permits. So here are some active construction pictures that you see. This right here is a bulb out. If you're not familiar with the bulb out, the purpose of the bulb out is to allow more visibility for the pedestrians, and it also reduces the amount of traffic across the street because they're a little further out. We have been getting some concerns about this particular bulb out because it does look a little off. And, there's still construction zone, nothing's fully completed yet. It's not going to look, it's going to look completely different than it will now. But as you can see, the curb line is actually travel lane, or sorry, parking that was there. And on the final design, what we're going to have is there's going to be 5 feet out for the bike lane. So if you notice that the new medians out there, they're reduced. So we reduce those medians in order to put in one lane, and then 2 lanes of travel. So we'll be able to have 5-foot bike lanes and 2 lanes of travel. So I know there's a lot of safety concerns concerning bikes having to leave into the traffic. Like we've been telling people, unfortunately, this is a construction zone, so it'd be safer if we could find another path for travel to get there. But what final design, it'll make a lot more sense and better. And we have instructed the contractor to regularly maintain barricades with flashing beacons in front of all these new configurations of any concrete medium. And that's just standard. We're working on irrigation in the new medium. Just more of the actual construction. This is some irrigation that's been placed. The drip that's been placed on the west side of town. I think that's just south of Hillsdale. And then you can see the new class 4 bike lane. I know we've also been getting some concerns about the change in grade, or the 1-inch drop of this asphalt near the median. Unfortunately, due to some of the delays that we've been experiencing from outside agencies, probably could have been done with this project right now in terms of actual surface resurfacing. But our contractor is on notice that they need to maintain it as much as possible. There is a 1-inch gap that is allowed, so a 1-inch dip, and anything other than that. As you can see, new handicap ramps for ADA compliance. We've removed and replaced every single ADA ramp. The only one that's still left is the one at the the northeast corner of Foothill in town. That's because that falls under Caltrans jurisdiction, so we need Caltrans approval for that. So upcoming construction, we have the remaining PCC improvements. Some of those, like I said, the drive approach on Briarcroft, and we are on traffic signal modifications and adding new poles. So there's going to be some PCC improvements when that happens. And I'll get to that on the next point. Completion of landscaping irrigation improvements. You will continue to see the landscaping contractors out there continuously because they still have a lot of landscaping to do. The electrical work irrigation, like I previously stated, still waiting on SCE approval. We were told 2 weeks ago that we should be expecting it 2 to 3 weeks, but now they're saying not so long. So they really can't do any more concrete work or trench work because until that approval is done. So that's why they're kind of at a standstill right now. Tower improvement. These are pending material delivery times. Any kind of project we can get in that has to do with any poles. Yeah, there's a very big lead time. So the lead time is back in April, and we ordered it back in November. Lead time's in April, and we ordered it back in November. But fortunately, that won't affect the resurfacing of the roadway. We'll still be able to grind and clean the roadway without those installed, and then come back at a later date once we get those installed and without destroying any of the pavement. Green Street components, including 8 modular wetlands. Like this will go in the median, try to capture all the water and keep it there. The new Claremont pine installations will be fine, similar to what you see on Foothill Boulevard. Those will be placed at the new median, just north of Foothill Boulevard, and the median south of the 2 freeway. And then the final phase of the project will be the grind and overlay of the entire corridor, and the striping, which I described earlier, will have all the green bike lanes and bike boxes. Questions? Well, we're hoping. I spoke to the contractor this evening. If we can get the approval for SCE to have them go out there and do their work, which they said beginning of March, they should be able to grind and pave by probably the beginning of April. So the project will look completed at that point, but we'll still need to come back and put in the new traffic signal poles. But the grinding, paving, and striping should be all done by then. Hoping that by it will get it done by the time of the year. Uh, we're looking at just a little north of 5 million. But we also still have to process some change orders because it's changing in the field, other things that take some paper, but no new signals, but we're doing modifications to the current signals in the highway to improve corridor, the flow traffic. Like Fifth Avenue, extending out that turn lane, and extending the left turn green so that so the school traffic in the mornings is getting out to allow more time. Yeah, that we had a long. You want to talk to Mr. Lena?
Good evening, everyone. Maria Tipping, I'm city engineer for the City of Claremont, and thank you, all of you, for having us here and for giving us the opportunity to share details about this project. Cal, thank you for asking about that because I feel this has been one of our biggest frustrations for the project. We started talking with the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator for Caltrans District 7. We are, District 7 is the LA County, Ventura County, so we're under their jurisdiction. We started talking with this coordinator back in 2019 about this project. Had massive support, loved the project. There's so much history with the freeways being built, the Thompson Creek Trail being rerouted through the freeway. There's 20 plus years in the making, in terms of the history of the particular location and all the history between the city and Caltrans discussing ways to improve safety in that area. So Enrique and I felt really good back in 2019 when we, mind you, we used to work with Dale Benson, was the bicycle pedestrian coordinator for Caltrans District 7. He retired right around 2019. And so we started talking with this new person, and we felt very encouraged that, they were going to be supportive of further improving this area. Well, fast forward, and several years, 2023, after everything has been hashed out and blessed and approved verbally, we're told now you have to go get a permit. So when did we start the permit process? So yes, there's a new directive that Caltrans issued, Directive 94, issued in, I believe, in January, that supports complete streets. So you would think that if there's a directive issued by Caltrans on complete streets, when they review our project, they will be very sympathetic and very willing to approve a complete street project on Caltrans right away. Mind you, it's anywhere from 50 to 75 feet that they got to approve. So we learned the very difficult way that not everyone in Caltrans is on board with supporting this type of project. And they have a very difficult time accepting 11-foot travel lanes. Even though the Highway Design Manual in 2020 approved, deviated from the famous 12-foot, approved the 11-foot in 10 and a half. So it's been, just to say the least, a very disappointing, very frustrating path just to share a little bit, on Tuesday, I got to go. I went to Metro attended a workshop on Complete Streets and Green Streets, and met with the traffic city engineer for the city of Long Beach. So I was sharing the frustration with Towne Avenue, and he said, well, we just went through a very similar process with Caltrans, and it got to a point where the city had to document Caltrans' denial and rejection of their project. It got all well documented, so at least if, in case that something happens, there's a collision, at least they can pull all that information and basically point at Caltrans for being so inflexible. So we had a meeting with, I want to say 11 people from Caltrans were there. Enrique and I and our consultants, we met with them because they made us go through a very traumatic process. We had to walk these people through our complete streets and explain why we needed to go to 11 foot. So, and the reason why that we want the 11 foot, one, we want to calm traffic. We want to make sure that we use every tool in the toolbox to put some traffic calming on that street. And also, it gives us the opportunity. We have a bike lane on the west side of town. It gives us the opportunity to reassign right-of-way to accommodate a bike lane on the east side of Towne Avenue to go north. Currently, we have a share-out. So they are okay with the share the road conditions, and they're not willing to have some flexibility to allow for a bike lane. So it's difficult to understand. And I think the most mind-blowing excuse that we were giving, we were told that the Caltrans is concerned with reducing the width in the lane, in the travel lane, because they feel that is going to cause delays, capacity issues onto the freeway. So, hard to understand, but that directive 94 talks about the number of trucks per lane, and is it the magic number is 250. If we have less than 250 trucks per lane, that directive from Caltrans is very flexible or very understanding with the use of narrower lanes. So we had to go through the exercise of obtaining counts, which were obtained last week. I'm happy to report that we are like way below the 250. So we are preparing documentation to submit to Caltrans, just to quote Highway Design Manual, their Directive 94, and basically just let them know you guys have all the tools to approve our project. So that's just where we're at. Yep. Yeah. You're correct. And it gets messy on the foothill. We were talking, more specifically about the interchange, but you're absolutely right. There are another portion of Caltrans jurisdiction at the intersection of Foothill and Town, and that was not relinquished. It's still, City of Pomona, City of Claremont under Caltrans jurisdiction. As a matter of fact, that signal, the Town and Foothill, that signal is under Caltrans jurisdiction. So anything with that signal, we have to report to them. So, but again, it is the same kind of issues. Even though they are smaller, minuscule portions of the roadway, what? No? Yes, sir. Uh, well, the vision and the final product it's gonna change the fabric of Towne Avenue, and with that, we're hoping that driver behavior also gets influenced by the design and the narrowing of the lane, the landscaping, the bike, the cycle tracks and the bike lanes. The fabric of that roadway is going to change from being a car-centric 1950s or earlier roadway. We're bringing this to what it should be, where every roadway user should be taken into consideration. I mean, accessibility is also a big concern of us. We have a community with residents with special needs on Towne Avenue that now we feel they're going to have a better roadway to get to their destinations, whether they're using a wheelchair or other means. So it was time. Another important aspect of this project that is very dear to us, and we learned just on Tuesday, Metro, the workshop that I mentioned, is a workshop on complete streets and green streets. The green street components, they are all those components, all those devices that we put on the ground so we can capture water to replenish the ground table. Well, we learned that we are in the forefront. Very few cities are doing what we're doing. So every time we do a complete street project, starting with Foothills, we also made sure that we incorporated devices to capture that water. So that is the future for the complete street project. Metro wants every single project to look like the Claremont project with those features. Yes, sir. Uh, well, this one, yes, this one will have a combination of both class 2 and class 4. Class 4s are the protected, very similar to Foothill. We incorporate those class 4s where appropriate. The median. Right. Right. So, but there's some criteria that have to be met for the implementation of those class 4. And those are appropriate and effective as long as you have a long stretch. So the case in Mountain Avenue, every 30, 40 feet, 50 feet, you have a driveway. In that particular case, each and every driveway becomes an intersection, a point of conflict. Therefore, you're going to have breaks at every so often in a class 4. For that very reason, we're doing green bike lanes on Mountain Avenue. The city went through No, we're going with similar to the green bike lanes like we have. Actually, they're going to be more greener than the ones we have on Fort Hill. And narrowing of the lanes, and also we're looking at additional 3 or 4 additional crossings, pedestrian crossings along Mountain Avenue, both north and south of Quicker Boulevard. Right, because um, right, we have a project. There's a project link that you can go into, and but I mean, I want to be very clear on something that we all need to understand. Each corridor has to be analyzed as as a standalone corridor with its very specific characteristics. You know, Mountain Avenue cannot be compared with Towne Avenue. It is very different. And you have backup walls here. The other one you have 3 schools. You have a number of homes, churches. The land uses are very. I mean, well, we have a residential component here too, but each corridor is very unique. And this is what you need to look. It's not one size fits all when you're designing a street. It's a holistic approach, and every single detail has to be taken into consideration when you design it. I'm gonna let Enrique. I know that we're gonna have a kind of eucalyptus that they're called rainbow eucalyptus that apparently they have all the they're very different. They are not that kind. But they have their trunk is all multicolor and extremely beautiful. So I'm aware of those. We can
For the planting process, we went through for Towne Avenue. We went through our sub-landscape consultant and then community service department. They went through their commission, approved a plant palette that will be appropriate for the corridor to be aesthetically pleasing, but also not impact the concrete roadway like you see in other streets. So hopefully we don't have as much with the sidewalk. If you go online, there is the plans. They have the plant legend. I don't have a green thumb, so I'm not very curvy. So what kind of trees. So that's why we have even food services in their commissions. Right from. No, it's a lengthy paper, so you won't feel it. It'll be a long stretch. The paper starts just north of Foothill, so it'll slowly transition. It won't be any drastic transition. We can paint it. We can paint it, no problem with selective materials. Yeah, but hey, sorry, can you go back to the picture and look at that one slide? I think it's the first slide. Or first picture. Okay, so like I said, you can see that that was the existing parking lane, and I want to emphasize that that was a parking lane. It wasn't a bike lane. It was used as a bike lane, but shared parking and bike lane, which isn't ideal. And so that's still in parking because that's honestly no different than a farmer's park because it was within the previous parking lane. And you will have 5 feet out of a bike lane, and then the two 11-foot traffic. And that transition talking about will start just north of Foothill. It'll be a very slight and gradual transition, and that's because the entire corridor of Towne Avenue isn't the same width throughout. So we had to maneuver through that, which is why in some places you see the class 2, the painted bike lane instead of the class 4. So we got a lot of questions of that. How come you didn't put the class 4? But the width of that profile of that section of Towne Avenue, it just wasn't feasible. Well, the travel lane will be 5 feet away from that. Mhm. Yeah, we've had that discussion with our contractor in our last meeting that we are going to pay reflective material. Well, if we got to spare $30 million, we could do that. Well, actually, I could see that because we had met with Edison um, for Arrow Highway to get an idea of undergrounding the poles from Indian Hill to just an idea for the project. And can't be underground. Yeah, 66K. You can't underground 66K. You cannot underground 66 kV. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember years back they did do some high power, high voltage lines. I think in Keno Hill, they caught on fire underground. What?
That's a great point. But one thing that we're accomplishing here is looking for available tools and elements that we can use for street design that will force the driver to think about how they're going in a very different way. That's all it is. By design, we want these people to realize, okay, maybe I should slow down. We're not looking for design elements that, for instance, they will divert traffic onto another street, because that will be a concern. If you do something on one street that pushes traffic on another one, that's not an equitable or fair way to design a street. We want people to slow down, but we don't want to penalize the next door neighborhood by shifting traffic to another way. Thank you for asking that question, because you know what? Oftentimes we get asked, oh, can we close my street, put a cul-de-sac on my street, or do this or do that? Traffic calming is not about sending drivers to the next neighborhood. It's not. And if somebody feels that is the right way to go about business, you know, it's not fair. It's not equitable. So we need, and that's kind of the balancing act that we all have to do, doing what we do. Make sure that we accomplish our goal to get people to slow down. And I'm gonna shout a big shout out to PD, because honestly, I feel that enforcement is another component that we need to support what we're doing. But designing a road with something in mind to push people to another street is not fair for that other street. They do. From 14 to 11. Right. And if I may, sir, one little thing in terms of commissions, we did a study. We studied 2 years before Foothill was done. 2 years after, commissions decreased by 50%. Uh, we looked. Right, that's true. That's true. And also we need to understand too that Claremont is a destination, so we have people from so many areas and places in the region coming to Claremont for our amenities and something to do. Yes. Sorry, didn't forget you.
Let me address your first question. So yeah, I think we had a discussion because we were getting some concerns. I think what's throwing everybody off is the acceleration of the asphalt. The current lanes are still wider for at the minimum 12 feet. So the acceleration of the asphalt and then the old striping that is there is causing some issues. So we're working on a plan right now to put temporary striping so that we can really look at the space out there for two 12-foot lanes, even with the new medians and the new cross-foot cycles. It doesn't appear that way. I drive it every day to and from work and throughout the day to check on the I do understand that if you're in that right lane, that deceleration really throws you off and makes it look like you need to be in the older gray area, not the grass. Also, the sinking of the temporary asphalt doesn't help either. So we put our contractor on notice, make sure that they maintain that no more than 1 inch sinking. Anything over that has to be redone. But hopefully the temporary striping will provide a little bit more guidance on where it should be and be a little more.
Feedback from PD on that, and it's not a concern. Actually, we're seeing a reduction by 50% on the collisions, and they, that doesn't seem to be a major problem. Still have been corrected, yes. We were invited to talk about town. I'm sorry. Yes. Well, that's a good question. We're starting to do counts, so we're kind of catching up with doing counts, citywide counts. So those are good indicators to follow and see how the progress and of the facility and how people are using it. So we're proposing to do that. We're doing it with Foothill. We'll be doing that with any new roadway design just to account for that bicycle traffic. Hey, sorry, Mr. Keith, you had a question over there? Uh, if and thank you for the feedback, because you know what, we have a group of part of the community that they love the class sport, and we have a equal or pretty even number of cyclists that they just don't like it. And you know what, the social riders, they are telling us that they're used to riding side by side. They don't like that. So we understand. We understand both arguments. Yes. One quick comment on scripts. You're adding another crosswalk. So that is one of the components of the project that came up during the public outreach. Even though we were during the pandemic, we were doing every possible podcast that we could get a hand on to get feedback. So we did Sustainable Claremont Dialogue. We had the TTC, the Traffic and Trans Commission, a number of times, and the parents were saying we need that additional crosswalk. So that one is a result of that concern and that request. Mr. Keith. Thank you for your feedback and many of your comments and suggestions. They are considered during the design phase, and accessibility is another one. That's why we are careful where we install, how you select the type of bike infrastructure that you put in, because you're right. You need to take into consideration every single one of those scenarios. So yeah, it's a balancing act, and you're right. And the cost is, like Enrique was saying, this project we started with a $3 million budget, and ended up being a $6 million. Oh, this infrastructure is extremely costly. That's another thing that we need to think about. There's many residents, they want to see this everywhere. Well, imagine, $6 million for less than a mile to do a project like this. Cushing Boulevard was $16 million. We have $3 million for Mountain Avenue under the current design, just with the paint. It's about $6 million. So this infrastructure is extremely, extremely expensive. That's why we need to be very careful. Also thinking, we're doing this project here. Where are we going to do our next project? We need to create that equity, put in all these improvements. We're working now on the design Mountain Avenue is one, but we got a grant, $3 million grant for a project on Arrow Highway and Cambridge. So we're looking at doing complete streets and green streets. The grant is from Arrow between Indian Hill and Cambridge between Arrow and Bonita. So that's our next big project coming up. Uh, Uh, on that one, I'm going to have Enrique respond on the cost. But there is something called the MS4. It's a municipal um, state mandate that requires that the 85th percentile of the 24-hour rain event be infiltrated. And that applies, to our projects and development projects. So it is part of a state mandate. We report every year on how much water we have infiltrated and, the projects that have accomplished that. So this particular workshop that I attended on Tuesday, it was interesting because it looks like it's difficult to get grant funding to put these improvements in. We were lucky with Foothill Boulevard. We were able to get, we had 3 grants, one of them, for mainly infrastructure, the FC1, $6 million, but then we have a $500,000 one, and I think the other one was $750, don't quote me, but one of those was for the infiltration and all the stormwater BMP. So it's very difficult, very, very difficult to get grant funding to do that. It appeared to me, based on this workshop that I attended at Metro, that there's an appetite to combine the two, the infrastructure with the stormwater, and it looks like these, agencies with the power to, disperse the funding, they are looking at how to expand the eligibility for the funding to incorporate the stormwater features. So it looks like it was very positive, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing the funding sources, including those the state mandate unfunded state mandate components. Hopefully, will be covered. Yes, sir. Thank you. not aware about having them rebuilt. I believe they were private and they were in private property.